Hi everyone, this is Mr Neel Raithatha, also known as the Wax Whisperer. Thank you for joining me in my latest video. This is of a patient who attended with a lot of dead and dry skin that was not only occluding the ear canal entrance, so this is the dry skin right at the entrance that's obscuring the view of the eardrum, but also dead skin that's lining the ear canal walls, and a bit deeper, as you can probably see, they've also got some earwax that's lodged very deep against the eardrum. And the patient's main symptoms were, of course, hearing loss, but also itchiness and irritation in the ears. So I'm just using microsuction, and we're just at the entrance here, or just past the first bend. So the ear canal is somewhat shaped in an S-bend configuration. You have the first bend, which is around half a centimetre into the ear canal, and then the second bend is a further half a centimetre away. And the bends are part of the outer third of the ear canal, the cartilagous portion. Beyond the second bend, we have the inner two-thirds of the ear canal, which is the bony part of the ear canal, where there's just a very thin layer of skin attached and adhered to the bony part, and that skin's really, really thin. We're looking at less than 0.1 millimeters in thickness, whereas the skin that lines the outer third, the cartilagous portion, is a lot thicker, almost 10 times and 15 times thicker, so it's an excess of 1 millimeter in thickness. So this wax is really, really dry, and it is lodged. You can probably see it in the distance. You can see the tail of that, and you can see the head of it. And I've just positioned the wax plug in such a way now I can use some forceps. So I've moved this protruding part of the wax, the bit that's facing us, away from either side of the ear canal. So it enables me to insert the crocodile forceps into the ear and have the top and bottom jaw either side of the wax without making contact of the ear canal wall itself. So the eardrum's visible. It's slightly dull in appearance. The patient's previously had, as a child, had grommets fitted and suffered from glue ears, so chronic ear infections with catarrh build-up behind the eardrum. So in terms of the hearing, that's been restored to what the hearing is usually like now, and you can see the eardrum's quite opaque in colour. You can see that it's quite narrowed in there as well, and that's where the wax plug was lodged. So for the next probably 10 minutes or so, or less than that, 8 to 9 minutes, you're just going to be watching me peeling off all this dead skin, and it's quite a laborious task. You need a bit of patience with this, and of course a steady hand, because all this skin is on the canal wall, and this is where we can cause injury and trauma to the patient. If you Quite often with the endoscope, when we train audiologists or doctors or ENT specialists, they get daunted somewhat by the endoscope itself. So the endoscope is 5 centimetres in length, but in actual fact, it's not the endoscope that's going to cause the patient any trauma or injury. It's actually the instrumentation that we're using. Our Clearwax endoscope, we've spent a lot of time and R&D, so research and development, to get the optimal magnification and the view. So the great thing about an endoscope, it's the field of view. The view is almost panoramic, which like we're inside the ear. But there's always a trade-off. The wider the field of view, the further away in the distance is the eardrum. So if you're trying to remove wax deep from the eardrum, if the field of view is too wide, which is great in some sense because you can see all around you, it's a lot more difficult to see the eardrum and visualize it safely enough to remove wax. So what you then have to do is insert the endoscope further into the ear to get that magnification, and potentially the endoscope can then come in contact with the bony part of the ear canal, which is the sensitive part. Conversely, if you have great magnification, so the eardrum's right in front of you as soon as you go in, you're not going to get the field of view. You're not going to see like what I'm seeing now with all the canal walls. It's going to be more of a microscopic view, which is a lot more narrowed, or an otoscopic view. So with our endoscope, we've spent a lot of time getting the trade-off. So we call it the magnification to field of view ratio, and What that enables our specialists to do when they use the eye clear scope is they're not compromised with the field of view. Obviously, you've been watching the videos, you can see the view that we have all around us is fantastic. But we've been careful not to be over generous with the field of view to compromise the magnification. So we want to make sure we can see the eardrum in distance without having to insert the endoscope deep in the ear. So it's not the endoscope that's the part that's going to cause trauma. Now, a lot of specialists do find using the endoscope difficult, and that's because, as I mentioned right at the beginning of the video, whilst I'm just talking away, you can see I'm just going to be peeling skin. I'm using a fine end suction probe, so there's nothing more I can really add to the narration in regards to what I'm doing. And it's, as I said, it's just you can be really patient and it's just a bit laborious to do this, but it's very satisfying to remove skin. And the patient's partner was in attendance, and they're a big YouTube fan, so I think they'll be watching. And they were just fascinated. They were at the edge of the seat watching over my shoulder doing what we're doing. So the ear canal, as I said at the beginning, it's an S-bend. You've got two bends. So to visualise the eardrum, we have to navigate those bends. And then once you've navigated that second bend, the ear canal becomes a lot straighter. So here, we're past the second bend now, so you can see the ear canal's a lot straighter. But as we enter the ear, we have to meander around the ear canal to get to this stage. With so typically when doctors or audiologists examine the ear, they have an otoscope attached to the otoscope. So an otoscope is just like a magnifying lens, and at the end of that you have a speculum, so like a black funnel object, and the narrow part, so the distal part, the narrow part of the speculum enters the ear, and we use the speculum to straighten and widen the ear canal. And then with one eye we peer through the magnifying lens to look inside the ear. So speculum is used to straighten and widen the ear. Now, typically with an endoscope, you're not using a speculum. So you're reliant upon the endoscope itself to stretch open up the ear. As you can see here, we're going in, we have to veer off to the left and then back to the right. That gives you a good idea of the bends and twists in the ear. So we straighten the ear by pulling the ear back with the hand, so back and up, and that straightens the ear canal and it widens it. And then we then insert the endoscope into the ear. And then, so in the case of the right ear at the moment, when we're stretching it, I then apply pressure to the back part of the ear canal with the endoscope. So the endoscope almost acts like a doorstop. So we're opening the door, i.e. straightening and stretching up the ear using our hand. And we do that in the right ear by pulling the ear back and up. So that's opening the door ajar. And then to keep that door ajar, we then use the endoscope as a doorstop. And we're applying pressure to the left-hand side. Obviously, at the moment, I'm clearing stuff from the right side of the ear canal, so that's why I'm at this angle. And whilst we're doing that, so I'm doing that with my non-dominant hand. So a lot of people do ask, how do we perform the procedure? So I hope this is kind of useful. So I'm actually holding the endoscope with my left hand. I'm right-handed, so I'm holding this in my left hand. And I'm stretching the ear open to the left. And then I'm using my dominant hand, which is my right hand, to insert the instrument. And so the endoscope's not only used to straighten the ear, but it's also used to visualise the wax and go forwards and backwards to see the eardrum, or left and right. So we call that bilateral coordination or bilateral integration, where you're having to use both hands to simultaneously perform a singular task. And I just find that sometimes it is a bit difficult for some specialists to grasp that skill, and it's no fault of their own. It's just the case. Some people are good at other types of procedures and skills, and others find this is a bit more difficult. So because the endoscope doesn't go too far in the ear, it's not going to be the endoscope that's going to be causing injury. It's going to be the instrument. So, and it does take a bit of practice. It takes a lot of experience, and just to do a lot of procedures. When I first started, I used to practice non-stop. And bless her, my poor mum. I used to, after work, I used to, even though my mum doesn't have any earwax, I used to just practice the straightening of the ear with the endoscope, and it's a different technique for the right and left ear actually, and then just practice putting an instrument in there. So although my mum didn't have any wax, I would just use her ear as a dummy ear, and she put up with it, thankfully. And I also have a mannequin, or we've got several, because we obviously do the training, and I used to just spend the hours. You've got to put the hard work in, and that's one of the things that we always explain to our clear wax delegates, and that's with all things in life, really. You don't become good at something without practice, and building that muscle memory. So I hope that gave a bit of a background to what an endoscope, how it works, the view, how we operate it, and the skill level required, and the training. That's the main thing. It's just putting the hard graft in, the hours. But bit of an exclusive, and I can't say too much more at the moment, but I've developed another device. So you may know that I've developed this eye clear scope, and I've got another device that will hopefully help and add an alternative to the endoscope. And I can't say much more at the moment, but it's in the pipeline. We've got a prototype, and it's working really well, and we're getting there. So anyway, when I do announce that, you'll be the first to know. I hope you're all keeping well and safe. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you all soon. Thank you. Bye.